Let's see. Wow, I'm going to push on the yoke. Oh, look at that. That is... Can you see it shaking there? Shaking like crazy. Hello folks, welcome back. It's time for another video, and this one is going to be pretty special. As you know, on this channel, I'm always looking for a way to increase that immersion and realism inside the flight simulator. And over the past year or so, I've showcased haptic seats, like the Sim Racing Studio haptic seat you're seeing now, motion platforms such as the DOF Reality H2, and tons of VR headsets. But perhaps the most important factor of all, when feeling like you're flying, often gets overlooked, and that is your flight controls. Now it might sound crazy, but really it's so important if you really want to replicate the true feeling of flight to invest in a high quality yoke and rudder pedals. But until now, the cost has always been extremely high and very inaccessible to most of us, including myself. Now in today's video, I'm going to show you something that I feel is going to be a serious market disruptor for the flight sim industry. So let me introduce the CLS-60 Force Feedback Yoke, the first of its kind, simply because this is far more affordable than anything else on the market today. Now I know there's going to be people out there that's going to say this is far too expensive when I tell you that this is going on sale for $999. But please do your research first, because you will find that a super high quality all metal construction force feedback yoke is extremely expensive. Although to be fair, in recent years the prices are going down, which is really great. For example, the CLS-60 Force Feedback Brunner yoke is priced at €1,249. However, there is some distinct differences, such as the CLS-60 has more powerful motors and it's more modular, and I'll explain all of that in this review. But one thing I do want to let you know straight off the bat, and that is I've never tried a force feedback yoke before, and in this video you're going to see my reactions to it. Unfortunately, I cannot compare it to the likes of the Brunner yoke. Perhaps that could make an interesting comparison in a future video. Now make no mistake, this is a full-size replica of a Cessna 172 yoke. And when I first unboxed it, as you can see here, I was initially shocked by its size. And I've got to say, the unboxing process, excellent. It was very well packaged and arrived safe and sound all the way from Singapore. But as you can see, the build quality is quite incredible. I am so impressed with it. This thing just feels solid and definitely has that desirability factor that I always look for. Now the reason the housing is so huge is because the CLS-60 needs to accommodate the very powerful servo motors that can produce a max force of 60 newtons or 13.5 pounds. And when we do our test flight later, you will see this in action. Now, since the yoke is designed to be modular, if you wanted to upgrade those motors at a later date, you can actually do this without needing to purchase a new yoke, which I think is a huge selling point, because this means this yoke could be a real true investment to your hobby for many years to come. And furthermore, flightsim.com, which are the developers of this yoke, are also going to be providing separate yoke handles for those of you who want to try something different and experience, say, an airliner or maybe a bush plane. Now the price, as I say, is now $999 unless you order it right now at the time of this recording, where you can get it for $799. Now keep in mind, this is a Kickstarter, which often I'm quite wary about, but in this instance, as you can see in the video, the hardware is already finished, so I feel the risk here is quite low. So is it really worth upgrading to a force feedback yoke? What are the differences compared to a conventional spring-loaded yoke, such as the Alpha yoke that I've been using for many years now? Well, the way I can describe this, and I will say this more in the flight segment, is when trimming in the flight sim, it's very difficult because you don't really have any forces and you can't really feel what the aircraft is doing through the air. Well, with a force feedback yoke, it gives you all that information and it makes the flying experience so much more realistic and actually much easier as well. Now I'd recommend watching Russ Barlow's video because he's a real world pilot and explains all this much better than I can. I'll leave a link to his channel in the description below. Now in terms of the effects that are simulated with the CLS-60, there is a wealth of different forces that you can tweak to suit a wide range of different aircraft types, and I love how you can save up to 10 different profiles in the software. Talking of which, this is what it looks like at the moment. Quite rudimentary and minimalist, but I don't mind that. It looks quite professional and it has zero impact on the sim, which is really important. You can change everything here, including the yoke physics and even the flight controls that are affected by the prop wash. That is something I'm going to show you in real time in a moment. There's also options for different turbulence settings and engine vibration. There's different options to experience stalls like shaking of the flight yoke, which can be quite violent, let me tell you, just like in the real thing. Even an overspeed setting. You can also feel such forces as the wind on the airframe, which is absolutely crazy. But all of this is possible with a force feedback yoke. You can experience the startup shake of your aircraft and all the vibrations going down the runway, and even the jolts and bumps if you have a bad landing. But anyway, it's now time to get into the sim so I can really showcase what this yoke can really do. And now for the exciting bit, the flight test, and what better way to showcase this yoke than using the Somnium VR1 high resolution colour pass-through, because I can do this. Look at that, you can now see the CLS-60 in really high resolution colour pass-through here, and this really gives me a chance to showcase some of the features and functions and the behaviour of this yoke, because I must admit, now that I've been using this force feedback yoke for a couple of days, there's no way I'm going back, guys. There's absolutely no way. So let me demonstrate. First of all, the throw of this yoke is incredible, just like a real Cessna, and of course you get the full 90 degrees like you would with the Alpha yoke as well. But I really like how it feels like a premium yoke. It feels amazing in the hands. But this is the CLS-60's party piece, and I know it's very childlike to get excited about this, but you know what, I love this, so I thought I'd show you it one more time. Here we go, watch this. Isn't that just tremendous? I know I'm probably easily pleased, I know, but I just think that's fantastic and really sets the scene, makes every flight an event. I'll never get bored of that. I'll tell you now, I'll never get bored of it. So now I'm going to enable the software and the effects. And as I do it, just keep an eye on the yoke. Here we go. You see that? Now the reason why the yoke just fell down there is because just like in a real Cessna 172, there's no air going over the elevator, so they droop down. If you look outside, let me just take away this a minute. So if I just show you here, can you see that? And this is such a cool feature because this yoke simulates prop wash, just like in the real thing. In fact, if I just take my hands off the yoke, can you see it shaking? That's because of the engine vibration, and it feels very, very real. It's quite uncanny. But anyway, watch this because it gets even more impressive. At the moment, I'm really struggling to pull that elevator up, but if I give it some beans here and get some air over that elevator, suddenly, look at that, it's now much easier to pull the elevator up, and in fact even the yoke pulls itself up a little bit. That is just mind-blowing to me, because I've experienced that in a real Cessna, but I never thought I'd ever experience that with a force feedback yoke. And keep in mind, this is my first experience with a force feedback yoke. I don't really have anything to compare it to, so please keep that in mind. Anyway, I think it's now time to take off and showcase some of the behaviours of the yoke. And just watch now, I'm going to go completely hands off now and watch the yoke as we gain speed. Now this particular airfield we're at today is by Burning Blue Design, Echo Golf Bravo Tango. Look at that, did you see that? Oh wow. That is incredible how the yoke just gains authority there because of all of the wind going over that elevator. It's such a great feature, that. And of course this yoke is full of them. For instance, one of the big deals about a force feedback yoke is the trim. Now with spring-loaded yokes, you only have one centre of detent, and you have to kind of trim the aircraft always to that same position. Well, in the real thing, the centre point is wherever you trim the aircraft, and you can do that with this yoke. So I could trim it at any angle I want. But it also means that trimming the aircraft is a lot easier now, because you can feel it. Now, many of the complaints from real-world pilots is the fact that, you know, there's just a lack of feel there. Now, this has been tested and is used for real pilot training, and I can definitely see why. So, at the moment, I'm going quite slow, and there's quite a lot of aileron authority here. That's not too bad, it feels very smooth. But say if I just kind of went in a bit of a dive here. We haven't got a lot of altitude here to play with, but it should be enough. So now, oh wow, now it's a lot harder to pull left and right. And I imagine in something like an airliner, you would really feel that difference. So another great feature of the CLS-60 is you can feel your landings. So we're just going to come in now, and I might just do a really bad landing. That's my excuse, I'm sticking to it. So you can see what happens to the yoke. Right, anyway, I'm now going to come into land, watch the yoke, and I'm going to be quite rough here on purpose. I don't even care if I miss the runway, to be honest. Here we go, watch this. Oh, in fact, actually, that was quite tame, but you can, of course, change all the parameters in the software. Look, I can feel the yoke pushing back again because of the force on the elevator. Right, for our next test, and I'm absolutely loving this, guys, if you haven't noticed already, and I'm so pleased I've got it attached to my motion rig. And if you're wondering, we're not using motion today because I've got a camera set up to basically showcase what the yoke is doing. I am going to do a separate video of my reactions using this force feedback yoke with motion because I haven't done that yet. And I think it would be really cool to document my first experiences using motion with a force feedback yoke, because I've got a feeling that's just going to be mind-blowing. Right, this will do. I'm now going to stall the aircraft and again watch what happens. And keep in mind, this is a default profile. I can make all these effects a lot worse than this. So I'm trimming up. Can you see? Look, the yoke is now trimming up. So I don't have to actually, I can hold the yoke in this position. You can't do that with any other yoke. Look at that, did you see it? Right, okay, that was quite tame. But even with that, let's just trim back again. Even with it doing that, I could feel and hear the shaking. Now the best way I can describe this experience, because it's very hard to showcase haptics and feel, isn't it? I mean, it's hard enough showing VR headsets, let alone this. But it's like I've got a phantom sense. Right now, I can feel my wings. I can feel the elevator and how when I move left and right, it's putting pressure and I can feel the tension. It really is like I'm sensing my own aircraft. And it makes a bigger deal than I thought. Absolutely. Imagine flying in bad weather. That'll be quite an experience. Right, now I'm going to really go for it now, and we're going to trim right up. Let's see. Well, I'm going to push on the yoke. Oh, look at that. That is, Can you see it shaking there? Shaking like crazy. This really gives you a true feeling of flight. No wonder all the real pilots out there that have tested this are raving about it. I can't believe this is available for under £1,000 now. It just shows you how technology is really moving forward, and I've got a feeling this is going to set a trend for force feedback yokes for 2024 and 2025. It's something I've always wondered, why has it taken this long to get this sort of experience? But I must admit, I'm pleased we've waited, because this isn't just some crappy haptics. This is a motor in here, and you feel everything. It's kind of like I can feel the cushion of air that I'm riding on, and I can feel what the aircraft is doing. I can't even imagine. I'm getting this excited and I'm not even using my motion rig. I'm just sitting in it like an idiot. I haven't actually got it switched on because I can't for this particular video. But no doubt about it, this has changed the game. I'm going to say it. This is a game changer. Every now and then things come along. When I showed the DOF Reality H2, I said from now on you're going to see this in every video that I make. Well, guess what? This is my new yoke. I'm going to be using this for every single video that you see. Unless, of course, I'm flying in a fighter jet. But you know what I mean, guys. For general aviation, this is where it's at. Absolutely. I'm so impressed. Now, of course, no product is perfect, and there's a couple of things that I'd like to mention. The first one being, it is a shame in some ways that the base is so large, because as you can see, I have done very well getting this on my motion platform. I've had to use a separate aluminium plate, and I've got to say, massive shout out to Mark from the Sim Hangar for directing me to this sort of method, and he's got his own review of the CLS-60, and it's very entertaining to watch. I'll leave a link to his channel in the notes below or above, you know what I mean. But basically, because of the size of this sort of box here, and it does need to be that size because of the large motor, but it means it's quite difficult to even mount on your desk. You do need quite a lot of room. So even though it's a kind of positive in the sense that because it's so big means it's got all those forces, and it, you know, the presence of this yoke, it feels like a proper professional piece of gear. I wish it was a bit smaller like the Brunner yoke. I guess another negative is it doesn't ship with its own clamps, which is a bit strange given the size of it. But I mean, for me, as you can see, I've used my Alpha and Bravo clamps, and I've basically turned them upside down, and I've got one on each end, so I've got 4, and it's not going anywhere. It's really secure, and that way I can also take it off fairly quickly if I want to use my joystick. But QR for rigs, if you're listening, mate, any chance you can make a quick release mount for a CLS-60? It's worth asking, isn't it? That's the only 2 gripes I can think of at the moment, because really for the price it's insane value for money, right down to the all metal construction, the over the top build quality. This thing is over engineered. It feels like a Cessna 172 yoke in your living room or on your desk. You know, it just feels really good. I also really like how there's plenty of buttons, and if you're interested, I will do a video showcasing all of my bindings. And of course the force feedback itself. Now, I don't have anything else to compare it to. This is a new experience for me, but my god, is this a proper game changer. I have no issues saying that in this video. We all know that word gets overused, but in this case it's definitely true. This thing is a must-have. Simple as that. Right, let's come in for our final landing here. And like, again, I can really feel, like, even just then there was a little bit of turbulence on that left wing, and I felt it in the yoke. It's just remarkable, isn't it? Absolutely remarkable. Now, I was planning on showcasing this new airfield by Burning Blue Design, but I've realised that this is a default version of the airport because I don't think I've got it installed at the moment. I thought I had. So I guess I'll have to show it in a separate video. In fact, what I'll do is I'll showcase a full flight with the yoke on the channel. How about that? I mean, you're going to see this all the time now, guys, so sorry about that. But this is, without question, something that I cannot live without. Once you experience a force feedback yoke, there's just no going back. It's like motion, it's like VR. It's one of those sort of, you know, eureka moments. I'm a bit fast here, but that's fine. I'm not really bothered if we don't do an amazing landing. Tell you what though, you can be so precise with this. Oh yes, actually that was, yeah, I'm happy with that landing. You can see there, as the lack of air going over the elevator, the yoke has now gone forwards, just like in the real thing. Now of course, if you're flying a jet or, you know, a hydraulically powered yoke in a business jet, then you can change that so it doesn't do that effect, and you have plenty of profiles as well. So I hope you enjoyed that review of the CLS-60 by flightsim.com. It is an absolute winner, and if you can afford it, I would go and buy one right now. Seriously, I highly recommend it. Now before I go, just to quickly say, because I think I forgot to mention this, that flightsim.com did provide this yoke for free for review. But as always on this channel, as you know, I'm very, very honest about my opinions on things. Talking of which, there is a new headset coming, which I'm going to review. A DP VR headset. I remember last time I reviewed one, it wasn't very good, so I guess we'll see about that. But you know, on this channel, I give you everything, all of the good and the bad. But when it comes to this yoke, so long as you've got room for it, this is a must-have for your hobby. It really is. Right, anyway folks, that is it for this review. Thank you so much for watching as always. I truly appreciate it. Please feel free to subscribe, and I'll see you again very soon. Oh, you see that then? How the yoke shaked. Fantastic. Bye-bye for now.